Alright, I'm going to try to keep this brief because these videos are kind of getting pointless and repetitive and redundant. And you guys don't need to hear the patch notes from yet another person. So, just as a quick, thing, the ideology that they're making a lot of changes is good, that they're attempting to fix things is great. As a whole, will it be enough to fix the game? I'm not sure. There's going to be certain things that I'm looking for after the patch that, if are not improved, I'm more than likely calling it quits, unless and if I don't, then that's pure mental illness. And please stop me. If you see me to continue, if I'm still complaining after the patch, too much, and you see me playing the game, tell me to stop. But anyway, so just going down briefly, I can only really speak about general changes that applied to Necromancer or Necromancer itself, specifically a minion build. And a minion-centric build, this is not using any spender, because as soon as you add a spender, you're more than likely building towards that spender or that core skill, not the minions. Okay? So that's that. Now, just going through, none of these changes are good for a minion build. Minions are way too squishy, they die way too fast, they drastically need improvement, especially considering at the end game you're going to be fighting enemies that are significantly higher than you, and that automatically puts the minions at a huge disadvantage versus enemies. They're going to be basically 100% of the time taking that 30% damage per hit, which means they're only going to live for 4 hits, and plenty of enemies hit more than 4 times. It's not just Fire Enchanted, Electric Obelisk, Shock Lance, Balrog, Fire Breath. It's not just those certain attacks that are overperforming. There's enemies like bears, trees, Knight Penitents that do multiple hits, wolves that do multiple hits or large hits with dots that will just eat through them as well. And the tools that they gave you to mitigate that, the 30% damage minimum, or maximum rather, that really only leaves you 4 hits. So anything that hits multiple times, especially if it's 4 hits or even 3 hits, because they're probably going to be missing small amounts of damage already, anything that hits 3 times will more than likely kill your minions, and you're going to get stuck in this repetitive spam of trying to spawn them, trying to spawn them, trying to spawn them, trying to spawn them. Eventually, you eat through all your bodies, especially with the other means of us consuming corpses. They really need to reevaluate minions. They really need to evaluate Paragon boards like Dead Razor that is supposed to make the minions more tanky and take less damage and do more damage and all that stuff. But that Paragon board is massively underperforming, in my opinion. They need to reevaluate that. They need to reevaluate the way that the passive works that prevents minions from taking damage. Consider putting a brief moment of invulnerability for just 1 second in between each 30% instance of damage, so maybe multiple hit skills won't affect them as bad. Because I think that would probably be better than nerfing these enemies as a whole. But I don't know. That's up to them. If these enemies are also overperforming and killing players too quickly, they do need to tone them down. So a lot of these changes are just kind of other builds that aren't minions. The only one here is the hulking aspect, and this is really not a great aspect, so it doesn't matter. Not saying the golem is bad, but this aspect is probably low on the tier list, even for a minion build, in terms of what you're going to be putting on your gear, because you have minimum slots. So these are the Fire Breath, Fire Enchanted, Electric Obelisk, Shock Lance. Again, I said it's great. Hopefully they succeed in fixing these, but these are not the only enemies that are overperforming. Please, developers, take a look at the bears, the wolves, the massive trees, and the Knight Penitents in particular. Those are a few that I can think of off the top of my head that I have witnessed overperforming versus minions. Please take a look at them. More density is great for dungeons, but is not great in the open world. Especially for people with lower spec devices. If I'm encountering other players and loading their entire stashes, I can't play single player offline or turn off other players entirely, I'm going to be tripping over lag when I encounter other players and massive amounts of mobs. So I really hope this doesn't kill the performance for people that are on lower devices. And if it is something that happens, I hope they're able to adjust it and fix something for people that aren't able to afford a whole new computer or device to play each and every game. With limits, of course. Obviously, they can't take too many steps backwards. Legendary drops from various sources, great. I just want to say a note about the treasure goblins is, please, devs, play a minion necromancer. And again, a minion necromancer that is not focused heavily on a core skill, and that doesn't use a curse. I would like you to try to focus your minions and chase down a goblin and see how successful you are. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be. You got to get really lucky with your CCs and the positioning of your minions when you first get in on that goblin. Otherwise, you're more than likely just wasting your fucking time. I don't give a shit if they don't drop legendaries. I would just like to kill a fucking goblin. Please. Why can't the minions focus target? Diablo 3 had a focus target for the minions. Diablo Immortal has a focus target for the minions. The Druid has a focus target for his wolves, I believe. What were you thinking? Please. The ability to focus your minions needs to be attached not just to a curse, maybe to a core skill, maybe to a basic skill, maybe all three, maybe the enemy that you're targeting, maybe the last enemy that you applied damage to directly as a player. I don't know the specific of how you're going to fix this. All I can tell you with certainty is every other game did this really well, especially games made by you. But for some reason, this game, it fucking sucks. You gotta fix that. Let's move on. There's a bunch of stuff here. It's important that I think people go through and read some of these notes for themselves because they highlight some problems where things were not performing right. People were taking too much damage or something, or skills were not working as they were supposed to. It's important to know that they really failed across the board with a lot of these, with a lot of code. There's so many coding errors. It is so shameful that they made a game and released a game in this state with this many coding errors, and they didn't find them in testing before the game released. You know, it's just insane. So let's see if I can find anything else that stands out to me, because I don't want to make a video that's too long. I just want to kind of find the things that are important to me that just, if they're not fixed, I'm done. I'm giving up, and I'm totally giving up hope. See, like this, something like this. Fix an issue where resource burn affix for Nightmare Dungeons was applying from close enemies and not just distant enemies. Like, come on. So your relationship with close and distance isn't even working in every case. That's annoying. Because that highlights the suppressor issue with the snapshotting of certain abilities outside of a suppressor going into it. Like, how many of these issues are prevalent in the game that we just are, you know, so enthralled in gameplay that we don't notice that are actual serious problems in the long run? Again, a lot of these necromancer fixes here are like nothing fixing minions here other than those fixes to enemies, but no fixes to minions. How is Turd Ferguson the, like, in the position he is at the company, and he plays the minion necromancer, and he doesn't speak up about anything bad. He just doesn't know. He doesn't understand what a good game is. So there's a lot here, and I don't want to make this video too long. So I'm just gonna boil it down to a few things. Minions dying too fast and too often. Spawning from death with no minions and no bodies and no common enemies to gain bodies from. Renown in future seasons. More for less or no renown at all. I would like to see them exchange the need to farm a bunch of bullshit to get your renown with the need to redo the story. I would rather replay the campaign and that accomplishment getting me all of the renown that I need throughout the world. Because let's be honest, you won. You beat Lilith. Your renown should be infinite. Everybody should know who you are and of your accomplishments. Who the fuck gives a shit about side quests? I beat the main quests, right? So please, get rid of renown in future seasons. Oh, please, get rid of that shit. Solo EXP buff. Like, please, for the love of God, I want to play more than one class per season as a casual. Yeah, I don't think that's I don't think that's too much to ask for. Is it? I don't think that's too much to ask for. So, all right, please, Blizzard devs, for the love of God, I don't want to just keep playing a minion necro. Like, I want to experience other classes, but I don't want to leave this class because it's just so bad and you never get it into a good place that's the reason that I left it. I want to leave it feeling fulfilled. I want to know that people come into the game, play this class, and they feel fulfilled and they have fun with it. And these are the problems that are keeping it from being fun. Minions dying too fast and way too often, spawning from death with no minions, no bodies, no common enemies to gain bodies from, having to farm renown repeatedly. Doing all that stuff once is great. Doing it all multiple times, no. No, no, no. Please, swap the need to farm renown with completing the campaign. Like, completing the campaign for each act gives you the 2,000 or whatever renown you're missing. That would be a great change, because I think experiencing the story again is not as problematic as farming a bunch of bullshit, because you can complete the story again as a means to level up. A solo EXP buff. The hand-holding meta is annoying. It's bad. And some people don't want to have to do that to be able to play one class, let alone multiple classes. Diablo 3 did this great in the way that once you basically had it down, you had the one class done, you had your Paragon started, and I'm not saying this has to become Diablo 3. But it's nice after you've beat the game once and you have your one maxed out character, or at least your one story completed character, that afterwards experience gain becomes massively faster. It would be nice to be able to reach 100 on a class within a season, try another class, or try another spec without as much resistance. But the amount of time you have to put into one class currently is way too much. Anyway, video's getting way too long for what it is. I'd rather wait to see how I feel after the patch, and hope, please, I want to be saying great things about, like, hopefully just these changes to the minions getting killed too fast by those certain mobs. Like, maybe there's a chance that that will solve 95% of my woes. I'm sure it won't. I'm coping hard, so hard. I'm huffing so much copium right now. Later.